Hello everyone and good morning and welcome to our Birth Beat Live. First time hosting it here in the Birth Beat Tribe. We used to do it on our Birth Beat page, but we liked the idea of making sure that we can jump in here and serve as many of you as possible and answer your questions in a private page, in a safe page, where you know there's other expecting mums or other new parents, so mums and dads. So just wanted to jump in, make this little recording for you as well. The beauty of it and the beauty of us putting it here is that you can watch it and re-watch it whenever you like and have a look back over our lives, and really just have this great resource. So we want to, as best as we can, build the resources and build our best way that we can serve you now as pregnant mums or expecting mums. So we hope this is helpful to you. If it is your first time seeing one of our lives or tuning into one of our Birth Beat lives that we're now hosting here in the tribe, hello and welcome. My name's Edwina. Most of you will know a bit about Birth Beat, but I think it's nice that we just let you know what we do, why we do it here. It's a small team and we're based here in Tamworth, and I am a registered midwife, and what I teach is childbirth education, baby and child first aid, and how to help you and your baby get some sleep in those early days. And what we like to do is be able to just get on here each Monday and Thursday and answer any questions that you might have around what to expect when either you're pregnant or a newborn or in those early days. And we have been teaching childbirth classes, or I have been teaching childbirth classes for years. And now we like to be able to share that information online and teach online, only because so many people in Australia and the world are having a lot of trouble getting access to good quality childbirth education. So I put a shout out this morning on Instagram about a few things that you might have some questions about, and something that we're getting a lot of, because I think it's affecting so many of you, is managing sick babies at the moment. Managing sick babies or managing sick toddlers. And anybody who has a sick baby or a sick toddler knows that it can be pretty tough and it can be pretty miserable. So your baby, when your baby was born, and when your baby is a small, hello. Now guys, I should also say, as you're coming in, please say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know if you're currently pregnant or if you've got a little baby who you are watching with. And if you have any questions, you can pop them here in the comment box and I can answer them for you in real time. So hello, Adriana, and welcome. We are talking about sick babies because I think that is a super hot topic at the moment. So I want to just explain a bit of the basics around sick babies as well. With a sick baby, the challenge being, and when I say sick, it's a lot of just the common viral illnesses that we're seeing at the moment. And with a sick or unwell baby, they often get congested. Now your baby, when your baby is born, goes from being a water breather in utero. So once your baby is in your tummy, all they're doing is breathing and able to be a water breather. Then when they're born, they take their first big breath, and their whole body and physiological system goes to them being an air breather, which is pretty cool that they can do that transition so quickly. However, they breathe through their nose when they're a baby. And so when you think about that, when your baby is breastfeeding, that's why your baby can feed at the breast for, half an hour, 45 minutes with their mouth attached to your breast or to a bottle, because they're breathing through their nose. Now, when we get unwell or congested, what blocks often first is our nose. So it's really hard for a baby to be feeding at the breast when they've got a congested nose and to continue to be able to eat. So often you'll need to be giving little or quick feeds more frequently. The challenge for that is overnight, and often when you've had a great little sleeper, if they get a congested nose or if they get a blocked nose, it's really challenging for them because they're going to want to feed often, but usually for shorter amounts of time. There's a few things that you can do to A, prevent your baby getting a blocked nose, but B, also to manage if your baby does or toddler does have a blocked nose. A couple of things are, if you are breastfeeding, squirt a bit of breast milk down their nose. So I know that sounds a little bit crazy, but actually squirting a bit of your breast milk into their nose. Why? Because breast milk is liquid gold. So essentially it has all the antibacterial, all the antimicrobial. It's really good for your baby and healthy for your baby. Plus it helps as a decongestant. So you or I might go and take a decongestant or a cough syrup or something like that. Obviously your babies and your toddlers are too young for that. So a bit of breast milk squirted down their nose works a treat. If you're not breastfeeding, you can also use a bit of saline, which is just salty water that you can get from the pharmacy. That does also help break down and act as a decongestant. I will say your baby's not going to love it. They're going to cough and splutter and may have a little bit of a cry, but it will help them in the long run. The next thing that you can be doing is putting a nebulizer or a vaporizer in their room. Like you and I, if we get a congested nose and it gets a little bit crusty, it's really uncomfortable. And again, it makes it difficult for your baby to breathe, and often they will wake and stir more, even if they had been good little sleepers. So getting something like, and putting some eucalyptus oil in that and putting it in their room when they're sleeping is also helpful. But first and foremost, one of the great things to do is actually prevent these illnesses in the first place. And last year we hardly saw any of these coughs and colds because we were all so diligent with our hand hygiene. We weren't going out, when people were unwell, they were staying at home. So please, for your baby or toddler, if you are going out and about and if you are concerned, a really great tip is actually just baby wearing. So strapping them onto the front of you, putting them in some sort of carrier or some sort of sling, because you're going to have less exposure to strangers, less exposure to people coming up and being close or touching your baby. I find often if a baby is in a little cot or in a little pram or a stroller and being pushed around, even strangers, or not even strangers, people who know your baby can come in and touch your baby and kiss your baby and hold your baby or ask to hold your baby. Whereas if a baby is on their mum or their dad, there's less chance of exposure. So that's just a really good trick for you all to be trying there, particularly to try and prevent an illness during these winter months in Australia, or actually decreasing the chances of your baby getting one of those viral illnesses. Once you come in from being out, or if Bub's been to playgroup, anything like that, just making sure that hand hygiene, so washing your hands, is super duper important. One of the other questions we had on Instagram this morning, and I'd love to answer it here for you, was a mum who is 40 weeks plus 2 days and wanting to know, she said she's tried all the tips and tricks and wondering if I can help or support her to get into natural labour. So first and foremost, for any of our pregnant mums that are watching this currently, please remember that a normal pregnancy and a normal gestation is actually between 37 and 42 weeks. So if you are currently pregnant and watching this, I want you to think of your due date. So for Polly, for me, it was 6th of February. So think of that due date. Now add 10 days, okay? Because if everything is well and you're healthy in your pregnancy, it's really good for your mindset to be able to go, okay, let's add 10 days. And by adding 10 days, then when your due date comes, you're not feeling so desperate and so urgent to bring baby on or to bring the labor on. Because often with labor and birth, patience is such an important part of it. But I know how hard it is if you've had the due date in your mind for 40 weeks, you've told everybody the due date, and then as that due date comes and goes, it's really tough, and you really want to sort of try and speed things up, and you're tempted then to try and start intervening. So for this gorgeous mum, she's only 2 days overdue. So my first bit of advice is try and be patient, and I know that it's tough. So for those of you that are currently pregnant, just add 10 days, okay? Super important that we try that. And for those of you who are overdue or a little bit overdue, there are lots of things that we can do. However, there's not a huge amount of evidence around a lot of them. Oxytocin is the hormone of love. It's also the hormone that's super important and helps you to go into labor. So when you're producing hormones, oxytocin is a really shy hormone. And why I say it's a really shy hormone, it's the hormone that we produce when we make love, when we have sex, when we orgasm. But as a hormone, It's something that's really shy, and it's created when you have intimacy. So it's not like it's just something you can say, come on, let's have some more oxytocin so that we can start to contract, have our uterus contract and go into labor. So things that you can be doing is, like, one of the recommendations is to have sex, but often when you're overdue or heavily pregnant, you're not necessarily feeling like having sex. So think of some things that you still enjoy in terms of intimacy, whether that's a back rub, a foot rub, a head massage, having a warm bath with your partner, having a hot shower with your partner and jumping into bed and having a cuddle, whatever feels good for you in terms of intimacy. Oxytocin can actually also be released by having a big cry or a big laugh. So watching a really good rom-com or watching a favorite movie that you know will always make you a bit teary can actually help. Putting some clary sage. So clary sage is an oil, and again, it's not a heap of evidence, but there's no harm. Putting some clary sage oil onto your belly and having a nice belly massage, having a nice warm bath with some clary sage oil, having some raspberry leaf tea. Now, raspberry leaf tea won't put you into labor, but what it does is it helps with your uterine contractility, which is just a really big fancy way of saying it makes your uterus contract better once it does start to contract. Often going for a bit of a walk, so walking, either curb walking, and when I say curb walking, why I say that, just let me grab my pelvis, is because if this is the pelvis that we use to teach in our childbirth classes, if your pelvis and Bub's head going into your pelvis is a little bit uneven, see, in terms of if Bub's head is sitting up over this side, walking, so walking up and down a curb or walking up and down stairs will help rock your baby's head down into the pelvis. So for that gorgeous mum, curb walking, so one leg up, walking along the gutter or the curb, and then turning around and one leg up and walking up and down stairs helps rock your baby into the ideal position. So I want you to try those couple of things. As I said, one of the biggest things around preparing for birth is not rushing it. If we have a due date and that due date comes and goes, and we have an obstetrician or a midwife who will say something like, oh, I could do a strip and stretch, or we could induce you, or we could help speed things up, as tempting as it is, if there's no reason, no medical reason for an induction or no medical reason for us to be intervening, actually one of the best things that you can do is just be patient and wait. Obviously, if you have a medical condition or you have high blood pressure or something else that's contributing to the reason for needing to be induced, that's a different story. I'm talking about healthy, well, completely normal pregnancy. There's no reason that we need to be rushing this. Then often just being patient is hugely helpful. I hope that helps you. I hope that's helpful to our pregnant mums who are currently waiting to have their babies. Let me know if that is you. Pop a comment in the comment box when you're watching through this. If you want to know about getting your bub into the optimal birth position, I know heaps of you have already done this video, but I actually have a free video. It's how to get bub into the optimal birth position. And sometimes that can also be a way to help you go into labor. So if your baby's head is sitting really high, or if your baby's not engaged into the pelvis in the right way, that can actually delay going into labor. So, as I said, we want Bub's head to be not sitting up on the edge. We want it to be going in like this. But what we also want, if you have a look at Bub's head entering into the pelvis like that, what we also want is it to be going in at that angle. If it's going in at that angle, you can see that that's not as easy a fit for Bub's head to be going into your pelvis. So if you are currently pregnant, we want you to be able to get Bub into this position because that's going to be the easiest fit through your pelvis. What we don't want is for Bub to be in what we call a posterior position. So for all the pregnant mums, what I mean about a posterior position is if babe's spine is in line with your spine, that's the way they're going to enter the pelvis like this, which makes it a harder fit, which often results in a longer, slower labor or a lot of lower back pain during the labor. Hello. I've got lots of mamas coming in and saying hello. Please, if you want to ask any questions, you can pop your questions here or pop your questions in the comment box, and I'll try and get back to those as well over the next day or so. So if bub is entering in as a posterior angle, it's a longer, slower labor, often resulting in a lot of back pain. And I had a similar labor with Polly, so that's why I'm absolutely passionate about sharing with all my birth beat mums and dads here about how do we get bub into this position as they enter into the pelvis so that there's more space, so that the contractions aren't as intense or painful, and you don't have that constant lower back pain. So I'll put the link here once I've finished for my 10-minute video of how to get bub in the optimal birth position. And you can start practicing that from any stage in your pregnancy. And if you've had a posterior labor previously, you'll know how important it is and how great it is to be able to, so I'm just dunking my tea bag here, don't mind me, how important it is that we make sure that you don't have a posterior labor. So I'll put that link there for how to get bub in the optimal birth position. It's just a 10-minute exercise video, super duper important, but for all the mums who are getting towards their due date or even possibly overdue, that will be really helpful. I'll pop it in the comment box. If you're coming back and watching this video at a later time and you have some questions, put your questions here and I will do my best to answer them. But I'll be back in here on the Birth Beat Tribe on Thursday morning as well. And as you all know, answering stories in Instagram. So I hope this is helpful now that you can watch this in the Birth Beat Tribe. It's a little bit different to watching it on our Birth Beat page. But I just love being able to help and serve this community. So let me know if you have any questions and I'll talk to you all again on Thursday. Okay, bye.